Chaos breaks out when one of Daisy's pups escapes, sending Tom and Sarah on a frantic chase to catch her before she gets hurt. The pup proves quick and elusive, darting through the sanctuary and causing a stir among visitors. Nuka and Tala jump in to help, using their sharp instincts to track her down. And with teamwork, they safely return the little runaway to her family. But just as things start to settle, Sam receives an unexpected call from a nearby wildlife rescue. A pair of armadillos was found injured on the side of the road who need urgent care and a permanent home. The rescue center is overcrowded, and without space for them, SPAH might be their best chance. Sam discusses the situation with the team, and while resources are tight, the sanctuary is slowly growing. With Rebecca's help, they begin arranging transportation and setting up a proper habitat. As the day winds down, there's a renewed sense of purpose. SPAH is becoming a true haven for animals in need. Hey everyone, Simply It's Logical here, and welcome back to the channel. But either way, I'm glad you could join me for today's episode of Shaded Pines Animal Haven. So as I'm sure you probably heard in the intro, we have a pair of armadillos that are in need of a home. So that's what we're going to be working on today. However, if you saw the last episode of SPAH, you may know that I wanted to build a house for them and two other species, being the raccoon and the skunk. But don't get your hopes up, because the raccoon and skunk will be coming in the next episode. But for right now, let's talk about what we're doing today. So as you can see, I'm currently working on the walls for the exterior of the building. And for these walls, I used the stained wood, the Indonesian brick, some twilight wood beams for the edging or the molding around the walls, and then also the Indonesian trim piece around the Indonesian brick area. And I did struggle a bit with how I wanted these walls to look. I think this is probably the third or the fourth rendition with these walls, but once I was happy with them, I added them all around the exterior. And then once I was done with the walls, I started to work on the roof. And for the roof, I wanted it to be more of a layered roof, so I wanted like taller portions and then shorter portions, which is what you can see currently. The taller portion, because I wanted to have skylights for on the higher roof areas. And then for the flat roof part, I just used the plastic pieces or the art pieces to create the flat roof. But for this, you can see I'm using the twilight wood and just going around the entirety of where I wanted the taller roof to be. And then I will go in off camera with the shutters and turn them horizontally to make them act as vents. And then I also go with some conservation wood and marquee beams to act as edging around the twilight wood piece. And then I use more plastic pieces for the edging around the skylights. So here you can see I'm working on these skylights that we will have all over the top of this roof. And for this, I just used the 4x2 meter glass panel, and then I added the marquee beams all around each of the sides. And then I just copied them over into a checkerboard pattern. And then I took 4 of the skylights and angled them upwards, which you can see me currently working on, because I wanted, 1, I wanted more height, and 2, I wanted a bit more detail. So I just took a couple of them and angled them upwards, so that way it could, 1, add more ventilation, and 2, it just, I like the idea of it. So for this, I used the bracket piece, the chain link. I think it's the one that we got in the Twilight pack. I'm not 100% sure. You'll see it here in a minute. I used the chain link, and then I used hinges to act as if these skylights can be opened and closed. I do need to go in though and add the hinges to all of the rest of the ones that are closed, just to continue to add that little bit of realism as if all of them could be opened if need be. And then once I was happy with one side of the support, I added it to the other side, and then I just copied the skylight downwards to make it match up with the bracket at the bottom. And then here you can see we're now working on the door, and I do want to apologize that you can see the flooring has been finished. I didn't struggle with the flooring, but it took me a long time and I just forgot to record it. But you'll see it close up later. But for the door, I struggled with how I wanted the door because I debated on whether I wanted to build my own door or whether I wanted to use the glass doors. And as you can see, I settled for the glass doors. But for the door frame, I used the metal beams that we got in the Australian pack or the Outback pack or whatever it was. And then I saw in Sparrow's desert house, for her doors, she added these vents at the above the door to act as ventilation, and I like that idea, so that's what I did here as well. And then I will, once I get all of the beams in, you can see I've added more of a support, because originally I was thinking about maybe doing like a sliding glass door, but I decided against that too. And so I kind of took my idea that I had for the sliding glass door and used it here with the beams being the two beams that I doubled up next to the Twilight wood beams, is kind of what I was doing there. And then you can see I added a glass panel, and that was the doors done. And we do end up having two doors. The other one you can see at the far end of this hallway right here. But now it's on to the armadillo habitat. So for this, because the armadillos are relatively small, I wanted to raise their terrain up so that way the guests could get be within eyesight of the armadillos as they're walking around their exhibit. So I did do all of that off camera because it took me a long time to get the terrain work correct. But you can see here that now that I've added in all of the enrichment items, I am working on what will be the viewing areas for the armadillos. And I do use the Indonesian brick and then the Twilight wood pieces to create the viewing windows. However, I'm still debating on whether I may go in and change the Indonesian brick for another piece of some sort. Probably once I finish the entirety of the interior, I'll probably get a better sense of what pieces I actually want for the inside of this building. But here you can see I'm working with that Twilight wood plank and copying that all the way around. However, I do go in here in a bit and delete a lot of them because I copy the Indonesian brick upwards to have the brick at the top and the bottom of the viewing window. And then I decided that I wanted the corners and the edges to be solid brick. So I create true windows viewing into the habitat. Here you can see I'm doing what I had just said about with the Indonesian brick, and then I'll take it and copy it downwards to add more angles and more windows. And now you can see that we have moved on to the interior of the armadillo exhibit. So you can see that the windows are done and everything. And now I am working on the back facade for the armadillo exhibit, because I knew when I started this habitat that I wanted the back wall to be mud walls basically. And for these I made my own. I have it all in one group. However, I may probably go in off camera and group it individually to have different sections and stuff, so I can use it for more builds and stuff like that later on. But for these mud walls, I used the desert rock, the faux roots, the tree trunk roots, and stalactites, and then the liana vines, I believe, the tangled ones. And then I go in with some buffalo grass and coastal pig face to act as weeds growing out of the rocks, or faux weeds, I guess you could say. Because I started with this door area because I wanted to make sure that the armadillos could get in and out of their backstage area, I guess you could say, before I completely covered the rest of their backstage in rocks and everything. I had to make sure they could get in and out. And then here you can see I'm adding in the grass pieces all over. And then here in a second, I will add in the coastal pig face as well. And then here you can see we've had a big cut to the roof is now off so I can see better. And a big majority of the wall is now done. So I'll just kind of finish this off, and then it will be time to add plants and everything. And now it's time for the planting. So I start with the desert rocks to add more texture to the bottom, because as you can see, I have taken the cladding desert rocks to act as the flooring to make the complete flooring flat. And then I'll go in with these faux rocks recolored to the desert rock color and add those in. And then I'll go in with some mulch here and there to make planting area so I can add plants and stuff in as well. And for the plants, I just use the basics that are normally in the zoo: ferns, bracken, arrowhead bushes, bramble bushes, all that sort of stuff. But anyways, we have just a minute or so left of this speed build, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. I hope you leave a like, a subscribe, leave a comment if you enjoyed the video, all that good YouTube stuff, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye!